Hello, I'm really sorry I can't be with you guys today, so I thought I'd come on location, and I'm filming here at Barnsdale Gardens. The reason I'm going to do a bit of filming here at Barnsdale Gardens is Barnsdale Gardens was created by Jeff Hamilton, who was a pioneering gardener of Gardener's World, and many episodes of Gardener's World were shot here at Barnsdale Gardens. And my discussion hopes to take on board a lot of the key learnings from Monty, the current presenter of Gardener's World. So hopefully we can look to see if there's some common elements of garden design and module design and see what they have in common.
Is it relevant? You know, you'll see throughout this discussion that I really like to depict and draw visuals as to what my module looks like, and therefore you've got to ask if it's relevant. So does drawing out a module actually make any difference? And my answer to this would this: why am I wearing this t-shirt? You'll see in the video I'm wearing this t-shirt. Now that's a clue as to why I think module design is important, and designing it out and showing it and depicting it's important. See if you can work out why. Throughout the whole video and discussion, I've created this for you to work on. It's just once again, it's very visual, but it's a way to help you scaffold and to help you focus your discussion. You can talk about, obviously this is a discussion, so you can talk about whatever you want within this session, but here are just a few things to help you focus your discussion. And throughout regular points I'll show you which end to fill in. So now might be a good time to hand these out. Make sure you got a copy of this to write your notes on it. If you can make sure, as it says there, that you write the name of the module in the middle. So think of a module that you're currently designing, ready for next year, and whack it in there. And then hopefully we can put a few notes down as well as we go. So this will not just be a nice little memoir, so it'll be something you can take back with you. When looking at my module design, I broke it down into 4 key areas. The first one I'm going to look at is environment.
To consider when looking at environment is, what do you want to grow? So do you want to grow plants, do you want a nature's garden, or do you want to grow maybe fruit and veg, like in here in their kitchen garden? When considering environment as well, it's also useful to consider the lay of the land, such as here underneath this beautiful shade of this beech tree. So we're going to look to make sure we get plants that can all happen within the shade that we're trying to do. So we're trying to match and make the most of our environment. Considering environment, one thing you need to work out is the plant types that you have. So here we have a lovely acer tree, but it needs an ericaceous kind of soil. And this is what you need to work out with your students. So do you try and get the soil to match your plants, or do you try and get the plants that match your soil? And this is what we need to work out with our students. What kind of students do we have? How do we like to teach, and how can we then best manage these two together?
So there we go. Fill out the green section there. So you can see in that green section on your piece of paper, you've got 2 questions. What learning style best suits your learners, and what teaching style best suits you? And try and keep your answer within that little triangle there. So just answering the 2 green questions, answer it underneath and keep it within that triangle. After the environment, the next area we're going to look at to do with module design is structure.
It says that if you're going to have a pathway, it needs to go somewhere. And we can see here that this pathway flows nicely. It takes you around all the main features of the garden. It takes you to a nice shaded sitting area and a nice sunny sitting area as well. You can look closer and link this back to your module design by looking at how the pathway is in a almost figure of 8 style. So therefore it kind of checks back on itself to really look at the theory and how the theory reintegrates back on itself as well. Also, when considering structure, the last one we looked at was very kind of loopy and an infinitive structure. This one, this garden, this structure takes you on a real journey. It's got a real nice big entranceway. You know, and there's loads of little hidden nooks and crannies. So we've got a bench and a pond. We go around the corner here, but it really takes you on a journey, and there is only one way to go through this garden. So though there's loads of interesting things to see and do, there is only one actual way to walk through this garden to really make sure you get the best of it. And then notice how it has a nice big ending at the end here, patio space, nice big finish there to celebrate on. Staying on the theme of structure, notice how here the pathway is all over. There's kind of 4 entry or exit points, and therefore if this was your module, where do you start Where do you finish? How do you make sure you cover the key points and it's not just a scattergun approach?
What this means for my module design then, I was in charge of a module called Enterprise and Opportunity. And so we took the basic business life cycle and based all our lessons around key areas of the business life cycle. I know there are different life cycle models we could have used, but it was just something to give it a nice scaffold. And as we can see there, it has a clear walkthrough, like that second garden on the video. There's a clear direction and pathway that the module takes from inception right up to trying to get rid of the business before it goes into decline. So there we go. Time to fill out our sheet. Looking at the structure side, what concepts could you base this module around? So is there a key theory? You may have to tweak one or another, you know. So I wrote one a little while ago for a colleague, which was IMC, communication, integrated communication. And you know, we based it on Burlow, but we created a hybrid version of Burlow, you know. And also as well, what assessments should be best? Remember, a pathway's got to lead to something, and ultimately our modules lead to an assessment. So how can you create the whole module to help feed in to this end thing? How can you create this pergola at the end? So we've looked at environment and structure. The third area of module design that we're going to investigate is features.
We can see here in the Town Paradise Garden a great example of working with your features. So we have a greenhouse there that really is just filled with vibrant colour and plants, and it's spilling out into the rest of the garden. Also we have here, I don't know if you can see in the background, a waterway that comes all the way down to a nice little pond. This is again an excellent example of working with features. So when looking at your module, it's about what's going to happen and how can we work with it and incorporate it in the garden, into the module, rather than it just being a hassle and being in the way.
What this means for my Enterprise and Opportunity module then is I have an assessment point there. I'm actually only assessing sections 1 through 4, but I give them the 2 extra weeks so that they can work on the assignment as well. And then an assessment point right at the end of the module that covers the rest of it. Now also within that, we have Easter there. Now there could be a session after Easter but before assessment, but that doesn't work. Assessment 1 as well is a more of a live action assignment. So they have to actually create something that would work for business use, and that's why it's useful just looking at introducing something, getting it to market, because this is just a first year one. The assessment at the end is a reflective one, so this is why doing it after the Easter break is useful again, because it gives them time to reflect, but it also gives them time to build up the evidence that's useful in a reflective journal or a reflective log. So looking at the key points and the milestones of my module has really helped. And as you can see there, I've now turned the business life cycle into a timeline. Something that a colleague does that I really like, I look at a module for first years again on advertising, and they always make sure that they do packaging as advertising, but they always do it around Halloween, because this was Fanta's this year's packaging for Halloween. You can see how it's very well themed, so they really take the use of Halloween being that week and really bring it into the lesson to help bring the thing alive. I know it's a cheap trick, but hey, why don't we use all these things? Well, you know, anything that's in our shed, we should be able to use, any tools. Okay, fill out the features there. Are there any key dates? You know, are you a summer module? Are you a winter module? And I'm finding it hard to read that last one. Oh, can you link it to any professional standards? So are there any other features that you're missing out on? So by looking at it that way, can you link it to any professional standards? Having previously discussed environment, structure and features, the fourth and final area that we're going to look at is the range.
An interesting thing that I've heard Monty and Alan Titchmarsh say, so that's TV's favourite gardener and Britain's favourite gardener, is to use a maximum of 7 variety of plants within your garden. And it's about the the depth of the plant rather than the constantly changing. And here we can just see this is the orchard, and you can see that they're growing multiple varieties of apples here, and it looks beautiful. And what they're going for is, as I said, the depth. Now, when this translates to your module, is it about the depth or the breadth of theory? Should you just concentrate on one specific theory and concept and try and use the others to reinforce and bolster it? Or should you use loads of different concepts and theories? Something to think about.
Okay, so what this means for my enterprise and opportunity module. So we're looking at the key areas. So I'm just going to shrink it down, and then what I do is, you can see it was labelled 1 to 11. That then lets me know what sessions I'm going to teach. And there you can see that each week I'm just focusing on 1 or 2 particular aspects. There are some weeks, such as week 4 and week 7, where it seems like I've got an awful lot of theory, but all the theory is there to reinforce the main theory. So marketing looks like there's a lot, but it's actually just STUP. Human resources, same again, looks like it's a lot, but it's just hiring, training, development, firing. So it's just the people lifestyle. Interestingly enough, week 1 has the most kind of theoretical content. We've got 5 different little areas there, and when students reflect in their reflective journal, this usually comes through in about half the journals, how week 1 seems to have an overload compared to the other weeks. So this focusing, this really drilling down, does seem to work for some of the learners on enterprise and opportunity. There we go then. Time to fill out that last purple square. I've asked a couple of questions there. Key theories that should be in this module. So earlier we looked at just one backbone theory. These are just other supporting theories that you think are very relevant. And that's a great question there. How will you know when your learners know? What will they do that lets you know that they've got it? So that depth of knowledge has been achieved. Because waiting until the assessment is a bit dangerous sometimes to work out that they've got it. So you can really hit the depth within each session. That's going to help us out. These questions, by the way, are not finite. It's just to help to facilitate the discussion. Okay, get chatterboxing. So if you haven't worked it out yet, these things fold up in a certain way. If you read the instructions on the bottom, cut the bottom bit off, fold them up in the right way, and then turn to your neighbour and you can ask each other questions using the chatterbox. So to summarise, the key commonalities between module design and garden design is 4 areas. We looked at the environment, the structure, the features, and the range. By environment, we looked at the students, what they like, what they prefer, the layout of the module, the course, etc., and your preferences and your students' preferences, your teaching style, learning style, how the module can be taught, if a certain module has to be taught a certain way, etc. By structure, we mean if there's a key model that we can base the module on, and how we're going to assess so that we can build towards an assessment strategy. Within features, we discussed any key times and how you can use these key times to advantage, and any other milestones within the module. Obvious one being a proposal before a big assignment such as a dissertation, etc. And then finally, looking at the range, we looked at the depth and variety of concepts and theories. So trying to keep that variety to a minimum to allow us to go to the depth. And there we can see all the aspects that we've looked at today on how module design may reflect garden design. Okay, and if anyone wants to know why the t-shirt, once again, as you can see, big visual fan, love the visual things and making things easy to see. But hopefully you can see, yes, that's Freddie Mercury, or it's supposed to be Freddie Mercury at the front. But at the back, that's the periodic table. Now, for anyone that doesn't know the history of the periodic table, when they first discovered these elements and noticed things had in common, they then started to plot them on this table. They worked out how things worked. And by plotting them on the table, they realized where the gaps were. They realized, hang on, we should have an element that kind of does this, and therefore would fit in that gap. And then hopefully that's what I'm suggesting by yourselves. By physically drawing out the module, you can see where the gaps maybe are and where things don't flow on to other things, or there's too much content in one section and not enough content in another section, etc. So I'm not saying this module design is as important and as groundbreaking as the periodic table. I'm just saying let's plant some seeds and see how it grows.